Good afternoon. Did you know that YouTube is the top preferred platform for podcasts, even more than Spotify, SoundCloud, or iTunes? There are over 464 million podcast listeners globally as of 2023. So on this live stream, you'll learn how to master YouTube podcasting so you can attract and engage a fresh audience. You'll learn what a video podcast is, the benefits of a YouTube podcast, where they appear on YouTube, the gear you need to get started, how to create a podcast, and how to promote a podcast, as well as how to analyze your podcast performance. And we'll finish off with some best practices. The question is how to start a YouTube podcast. Here's some podcasting statistics. YouTube is the top preferred platform for podcasts over all the other platforms, which was kind of news to me. And there's over 464 million podcast listeners as of 2023. And that number is expected to reach 504 million by the end of 2024. And 44% of Americans aged 12 and above have listened to a podcast at least once in their lifetime. Let me know in the comments or let me know in the chat if you've listened to any podcast recently on YouTube. So what is a video podcast? Because most podcasts that you listen to are basically audio podcasts and not video podcasts. But with YouTube, it's a video podcast. So a video podcast is just an audio podcast that has a video or visual element, and that podcast show can be a playlist that appears on YouTube, and those podcast episodes are videos in that playlist. And you can even set an existing playlist as a podcast. So basically, you can upload any video or use any existing video on your channel or existing playlist or live stream to make it into a playlist. And the good thing is that it can appear on YouTube's platform. So most people probably listen to podcasts, while they're working out, maybe they're in the car or they're cooking. So we'll probably discuss that later, but you can actually just have an audio podcast that maybe you have it already on Spotify, and then you can add a static image to it as a video component, or add a series of images or clips, and that could be a video podcast. So there's many different ways you can do it, but just keep in mind that the video podcast has that visual element to it. So what are the main benefits of a video podcast? Well, on YouTube, because it's a second largest platform, second largest search engine on the net, it means that your podcast can be searchable, and therefore you can reach new audiences, you can engage your audience in new ways, you can build brand awareness, establish authority in your niche, share your audio around the world, and also you can monetize your podcast. So it can be an additional source of revenue, and YouTube will host your podcast for free at youtube.com/podcasts. So there's a lot of benefits to it. So I think the main thing is that you're reaching new audiences, and later on we'll talk about how you can just strip the audio from your video podcast and share it on other platforms. So where do podcasts appear? Well, on YouTube, they're featured on youtube.com/podcasts, and on the YouTube Music app, and the podcast playlists on YouTube are eligible for podcast features such as badges and official search cards. And so on the YouTube mobile app, you can just, to visit the podcast, you can just go to tap on home, then tap the explore icon, and then tap podcasts. And they can also appear outside YouTube on Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes. So here are some of those popular podcasts on YouTube. So you got Trash Taste, H3 Podcast. Probably Joe Rogan is the one I'm most familiar with. And then the official podcast and a couple of others. But probably when you click on the podcast link from a YouTube channel, you'll see a bunch of channels that are doing podcasts that you may be familiar with. So what's some of the gear you need to get started? Well, it's very easy to get started because it's the same as just starting a YouTube channel. So you can just use your smartphone or a mirrorless camera, and then you can use some external mic. It could be a lapel mic. The one I'm using today is a Movo VX-R10. It just sits on top of my Canon E50 camera. Or you can use the Blue Snowball mic. This is one I'm using today. But you have many others like this Toner one. This is another mic, USB mic. You just plug into the back of your computer or your laptop. The Shure microphone is a really great microphone you can use. And then you want to also use a tripod. So you can get very cheap tripods for like $20. I use the Switch Pod, which you can just put on my desk, and that can hold the cell phone. And then you need some editing software where you can strip the audio from your video podcast, or you can edit your video podcast. So as I mentioned before, you can just take one of your existing videos or existing playlist and use that as a podcast. So therefore, you're reaching a different audience. And like today, I'm using the Ecamm Live software to go live on YouTube, so you can do a live podcast. So basically, all the gear you need to get started. I also mentioned the soft boxes. So I'm using a couple of soft boxes here in front of me. But you could just go live using your camera on your phone, daylight coming in through the window, and I highly recommend using an external mic, because audio, if you're going to strip the audio from your video podcast and put it on Spotify, SoundCloud, or iTunes, it has to be high quality. But that's basically the gear that you need. How do you create a podcast on YouTube? As I mentioned, you can use your existing videos. You can upload a new video, and you just add the title, description, visibility. Then you have to add a square thumbnail, and then click Create to save. So I'm going to play a short video file that will take you through the process. Going to YouTube Studio, click on Create. Click New Podcast. It says Create a New Podcast, then add existing content or upload new videos. Or set an existing playlist as a podcast. Click Create New Podcast, add a title, get more views on YouTube, add a description, how to get more views on YouTube, check visibility, public, upload a podcast thumbnail. So this has to be a square picture that represents your podcast. So click on the image, select your image, click Open, click Create, click Add Videos. I can upload new videos or add your existing videos. So go to Content, Videos, and select the videos. So I'm going to go to Content, Live. I'm going to select this live video, click Add to Playlist. Here's a podcast I created, get more views on YouTube. Now if I've got a podcast, I can see I've got my new podcast listed here. If I click on Details, then I can change the title, change the description, change my thumbnail, and change the visibility setting. So that's how to create a podcast. Did you mention a lapel mic? So here I've got the Boya M1 lavalier microphone. So that's kind of I think it's a cheap one. It's about 20 or 30 bucks, I think. But I've used the, what is it? The SmartLav Plus microphone, which I don't have a picture here, but I've used that in the past for my phone. Or if you get a little adapter, you can plug it into your camera. But yeah, the Boya is a good one, or you can just use any external mic that plugs into your computer. As I mentioned before, I use this Blue Snowball microphone, or I've got this toner microphone here that's just a USB microphone. So that's what you can do, but I wouldn't just go with your built-in microphone from a computer, because when you strip the audio, then you want to have a good audio that you can put on your share on other platforms like iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, etc. You can also set an existing playlist as a podcast. So all you have to do is go to your content tab in YouTube Studio and click on playlists, and you hover over that particular playlist and then just set it as a podcast. And then after you've done that, you can just add your title, description, check the visibility setting, then add a square thumbnail. So it's very important to add a square thumbnail. You can't just use the thumbnail from your video, because that's a horizontal thumbnail. So you might have to redesign the thumbnail, or you can just just rescale the thumbnail that you use for your video, and then you just save it as a podcast. You can upload a new video and use it as a podcast. You can use your existing videos. So if you just have a video on, say, kittens, or something like that, you could use that as a podcast, but it's probably not very interesting because just one small video. But you can use a live stream. Like recently, I created a live stream, switched my live stream to a podcast, so you still can see the live stream on my channel, but then it's also used as a podcast. That means potentially I could get more traffic from it appearing on as a podcast on YouTube or on the YouTube Music app. So let's look at how to promote your YouTube podcast. But before that, just keep in mind that, and we'll talk a little bit about this later, but you want to create just like a video, add a title. You want to use the same title as existing playlist. And then you also want to add a description, because it'll help your podcast get found in the search engines when people are searching podcasts. And to promote your podcast, especially if it's multiple episodes, you can take an episode, or you can take a clip just like from a long form video, and then create a short, 60-second short that you can upload to Shorts, and then you could link to your podcast in the comments or in the description. You could also share it on your social media sites. You could share a clip on Instagram, as a reel, as a story, or as a post on Instagram, and then you can share it on your community posts. And if you want to reach a larger audience, like an international audience, you can transcribe your audio into text, and the text you could use as a blog post. The audio, you could transcribe the audio, then upload it to different podcast directories, and by transcribing the audio. Recently, YouTube talked about the dubbing feature. So if you're just watching one video, but you upload an audio file in a different language for that video, then somebody's watching the video, say from India, they'll be able to hear it in Hindi. If somebody's watching it from Spain, they can hear it from hear the Spanish, etc. So it's probably worthwhile to transcribe the audio of your podcast. But those are just some ways that you can promote your YouTube podcast. But just keep in mind that it could appear on youtube.com/podcasts or on the YouTube Music app. So that's just, some other ways to promote it. Somebody had this question in my community post when I asked about podcasts. Can you accumulate views and watch time? Well, the answer is yes, because if you go into podcast analytics, you can see the number of views it's got, you can see the number of watch time, and also the revenue that it's generated. So you just need to go into traffic sources and then look at you get your audience demographics. So which country your audience comes from, audience retention metrics, the revenue data. So you just go to YouTube Studio, click on analytics and overview, then select the podcast analytics. So that's a good thing. You can see how your podcast performing. Let's look at some of the best practices for podcasts on YouTube. So it's best to create a public podcast playlist for each of your podcasts on YouTube. So this could be, so if you have a playlist, you're going to have like 5 or 6 videos in that playlist. And if it's an existing playlist, then you probably want to make sure that each episode in that playlist kind of stands on its own, and that when you add that playlist as a podcast, then put it in the order that your viewers will be consuming the content. And as I mentioned previously, use the same name as your podcast, as the podcast for your playlist title. And you don't want to add any extra words or numbers because you just want to use that exact title. So you don't need to put podcast at the end of your title, or even adding numbers or letters, etc. But just use the same name as your playlist. And then you also want to avoid mixing the different clips or podcasts or videos from other channels within a podcast playlist. So just use your existing playlist, make sure it's in the right order, and just don't mix them up. Add a comprehensive description to your podcast. So this will help new listeners discover your podcasts from their searches. So so when you go to the podcast homepage on YouTube, it's categorized, has different categories there, and people can also search for different podcasts. You want to add a square thumbnail rather than a 16:9 thumbnail. You can also reorder the episodes within your podcast by just dragging and dropping them, so you can quickly reorder them. And I recommend keeping your playlists updated, so they're up to date, and then share it on social media, on your community post, etc. Here's a few frequently asked questions from my subscribers. Do podcasts count as watch time or views? Yes, they do. You can see the views, as you can see here on the podcast analytics. You can see the views. You can see that you can accumulate watch time, and also generate revenue, an additional source of revenue from your podcasts. The other question: should you start a new channel or host a podcast on your main channel? My recommendation is to experiment by trying, maybe for a month, try a month of videos to see how your audience reacts. And if they don't engage, then you might consider a second channel. But probably the easiest way to start a video podcast is to just start it on your own channel, because YouTube has set it up that way. And they haven't said this, but I can imagine, just like with shorts, they could begin recommending the podcast based upon what your viewers are watching on long form videos and shorts. Just like shorts are recommended to long form videos, maybe your podcasts will also be recommended in that same ecosystem. So I think it's worthwhile to experiment with podcasts on your own channel. Maybe try it for a few weeks and see if you get more traffic. If you get more revenue, then that's a good thing. The other question is, can I create a video podcast by adding a still image during the entire duration of the audio? So if you've been uploading podcasts to like Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, etc., then you could create a video podcast by using that audio and then just using a static video image through the entire duration of the audio. So it's probably not the best, because YouTube is a visual platform, but hey, it's better than nothing. So you could have your audio podcast with a static image or multiple static images that, just put that audio file in your video editing software. And then as your audio is playing, you could just get some stock videos or stock images that you can sprinkle into your audio podcast, and that would be your video podcast. Sometimes the notifications from YouTube get missed by my viewers, so if you subscribe to my email list, then every time I upload a short video, long form video, you automatically get notified by that. My recommendation really is to just use the content that's already on your channel. What I've done recently, I've looked at my live streams, and I've uploaded a live stream already to a podcast as a new podcast, and I'll probably add more live streams as podcasts, and then maybe I'll take the most popular playlist from my channel and also use that as an existing playlist for a podcast, and then as an experiment, and see what kind of traffic, what kind of additional traffic or additional revenue will result from creating that podcast. So it's something. YouTube podcasts have just been announced on YouTube a couple of weeks ago, so it's fairly new. So I can't give you a lot of data on that, but as I showed you in the statistics at the beginning of this live stream, that podcasts are really popular, and now YouTube jumping in is a good opportunity for us to generate more revenue, views, and subscribers.